Welcome to the Astro Lounge, a podcast that invites you to unwind, have a little fun, and engage in meaningful conversations with others in the astro community and beyond.
We're some astro babes turned astro besties who met at Astrology University. We believe in astrology that works with you and that your chart is completely special and unique. In this pod, we're going to have some fun with astro through games, discussions, special guests, and even more.
Hi, I'm Simona, a travel consultant turned astrologer. I now help people journey inward, serving as a guide towards deeper self-discovery, agency, and a more meaningful, wonder-filled life.
Hiya, I'm Kaia, an astrologer weaving the threads of my three passions together: theater, astrology, and witchcraft, all for the hopes of digging into these little cosmic winks for some doses of self-love and self-acceptance.
So sit back, relax, grab a cozy beverage,
and let's get cosmic in this Astro Lounge.
Hi. Hello, Kaia. How are you today?
Hello. Ooh, I'm doing.
I feel that. I'm doing. Yeah, this is a fun time, isn't it?
Right? I think that should be accepted. How are you? I'm doing. I'm being.
That's very fair. It is very fair. That's how I felt a lot of this period of time, But we're showing up. We're here, and I'm happy to be with you in this moment.
Me too. Me too. I am. I be. Yeah, it's I'm in Oregon and I love the rain. But it's been kind of like flood-like the past few days. So it's the first day that it isn't. But I also get really defensive of the rain because everyone's like, "Oh, it's nice today because it's sunny," which I like the sun, Simona, but so it's good maybe to have a little break because it's going to be like downpour next week. But tended to the garden the other day, so it was nice to get all the soil drenched with all the rain.
All of the rain. We need it. I know it's interesting, my relationship to rain and to that.
Really?
It's like I live in LA and you're so used to having the sun all the time. And so we can get really silly here. We're like, oh no, it's raining and it's barely raining and everybody's in a bad mood. But it's really nice to have that change sometimes. It's just when it's constant, like I'm sure that becomes a little bit different. So
yes, sometimes people get upset. I'm like, yay, the rain, but the sun is out, so I guess that's a thing. Because we're in this period of transition because it's Pisces season, mutable Pisces, and we're about to, I am excited for the spring equinox. I am excited for that.
I am too. It's going to be, I mean, I know that there's a lot of astrology going on right now and a lot of astrology around that period of time, but it's like it really feels that it's this go time. It's like go time. I think we've been in this state of on the precipice of like all these different changes and we're feeling the changes and they're here. And I think that there's something about the spring equinox that is not, it's even more than just the typical like it's spring, it's a new beginning. There's just, it really feels like a epic new beginning. I don't know how to, like, all the changes we've been feeling and experiencing are really, it's like now we're here
now, and I'm excited for it's kind of like an energetic helper. Sometimes I feel like that's how we can look at astrology. Like, what are some energetic helpers? And like, and this will actually, we'll get to it in a little bit here what we're chatting about today, but I'm really excited to kind of use it like personally too, to kind of like, okay, let's get going.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's the whole point. Like we've talked about now forever. Like in our first episode, we talked so much about how we want this to be accessible. And so it's really, let's talk about that. Right now we're in a Mercury retrograde period, and there's so much out there about Mercury retrograde, but it's a lot of the same stuff. We hear a lot about it's technology mishaps and miscommunications and all these kind of things. And that's part of what happens, but the purpose of it is much deeper. And so I just thought maybe before we start like our main conversation, which we're going to have today, maybe talk a little bit about what you've been experiencing, what we've been experiencing during Mercury retrograde. If you've had any kind of experiences that have stood out, maybe a little bit of like, go there a little bit before we start.
Yeah. Yes. So, like you, I'm a fan of Mercury retrograde. This one has, excuse me, this one has been she's been a little tricky to navigate. I like a Mercury in Pisces, but it's very interesting. That's a word I guess I've just used now 1,000 times. Um, excuse me, sorry guys. And Pisces and whole sign is my sixth house, right? So although I don't have planets there, I got that Pisces vibe. And I've really seen that come up in like routines and rituals, and seeing how like I need that Pisces element within. And whenever Mercury retrograde comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, it is really important for me to have that kind of Pisces vibe, a kind of spiritual, but meaningful because it is Jupiter ruled within routines, rituals. And then with that too, we had, oh my God, it's been so active, because the sixth house is also the house of work, and I work with children in this aftercare program, after school aftercare enrichment program, and been there for over a decade. Love it. And you know there's been a lot of shifts, let's just say, within staffing. Without going into details, of course. I know, hello, a little juicy, but it was so, right, it was like everything that Mercury is about, like communications and revisiting and reviewing and reflecting and reassessing. It came into such a prominent way, like I didn't realize how prominent it would be. And it led to certain, like being very Libran about this, it led to certain like actions and results that are for the better, right? And so it was part of the Pisces stuff of like accepting and seeing, not so much of forgiveness, but accepting what has been happening in certain aspects. Fogs have been kind of like, oh wait, this is what's going on, never mind. And like it was interesting even seeing all the staff kind of, at least through my lens, my perspective, right, kind of viewing my work in this like Mercury retrograde way. There were things about documents, there were things about communications, and some things had to be like held on track, some things had to be paused. And so it's just it's fascinating. And like on a deeper level, it's just like it's brought up so much for me to kind of revisit too. And it's all in my workspace. Like, and it's just, it couldn't be more on point. And then like just a funny part of it, my shout out Lana, my roomie and one of my besties, we work together. Um and so, of course, well, we drive together to work, and we get there on one of these days that's just, they have these early release days in Portland where they release the kids once a month from school at 11:30 on a Wednesday. And all the staff were always like, oh, these are terrible days. Like everyone's like, oh no. And we walk in and we're like, we've gotten our coffee. We're like, okay, let's just get through this day. And it just felt like classic Mercury retrograde. It was like there was like a pallet of papers that she and I had to haul up, and then it was just like thing after thing, and we're like sweating and like drenched in sweat, taking up these papers, and like the walkie talkies are going, their kids with nosebleeds. It's downpouring. I was just like on the field, like helping this kid with the nosebleed, like, what's going on? Like, this is so, it was just all and we use walkie talkies. My job is highly mercurial. It's multiple things at once. It's the walkie talkies, it's the transitions, it's the language, it's the phrase, it's children, and that's also mercurial. So anyway, sorry, I'm going on a rant now.
No, I love it. And I was just thinking this is on Mercury's day that it's particularly frenetic on a Wednesday. It kind of fits,
It was insane. And so yeah, it's just I was like, oh well, I'll really be able to use some Mercury lessons here. So that's
Yes.
my tidbit. How about you?
Lovely, lovely. Well, oh, Mercury. Well, I think it's interesting because there's this idea out there with astrology that sometimes if you are personally experiencing a transit to a planet, that when that planet itself is transiting in the sky, that it might be heightened. So my Mercury is being squared by Pluto on my ascendant. So I'm in a Mercury moment. So I'm feeling mercurial things, Mercury related things quite strongly. And also the nodes are, North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo, and mine are the other way. I have the South Node in Pisces, the North Node in Virgo. And I think this Mercury retrograde is really woven into the eclipse story this eclipse season, because it's going to station direct at the North Node. So it's like all kind of the nodes and Mercury, they're all woven together. So I feel like even though Mercury isn't specifically aspecting, it's like kind of far away from my notes. I
Mm.
think that this has been a really like revelatory period of time. I'm having all these kind of insights and things come in and really vivid dreams. And I think that could also be
Oh,
because Mercury is in Pisces specifically, as well as retrograde. So I
yeah.
think, when Mercury is retrograde, sometimes we're called to tune in and listen in and get information in different ways. And I think that so my dreams have been quite vivid and I've been getting these kind of impressions. But I will say what was really specific in talking about like writing and communication and all these kinds of things. Last night I was having a conversation with one of my friends who's very much into AI. He is so into AI, he's in the know. And we've
Mm.
been talking about, language models and ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff. And I've been personally very resistant for a long time to use those
Yeah.
tools. I just like, no way, I don't want to use it. And then I'm like, I can't be so hardcore like that. I need to, test it out. This is the direction things are going. So you have to kind of at least have an awareness of how these tools work and start to kind of play with them. At least this is how I've been thinking about things. So I started using it at first for like grammar checks, just
Mm.
like little things. And I already have kind of this something about this vulnerable to share, but I have these insecurities when I write quite a bit. Like, is this okay? Does this sound okay? And so normally my husband is lucky enough for I turn to him. I'm like, how does this sound? What do you think? And he might humor me for like the first or second time, but he's Sun and Aries. After the third time, he's
Yeah.
like, look, I gave you my opinion. This is what it is. You're not going to listen to me.
Yep.
You're done. And so at the end of the day, I've got to eventually like, all right, well, I got to trust myself and it's good enough and let's go. But in using ChatGPT, it started to like kind of suck me into this kind of pull. So it went from like checking grammar to, now I'm working on a reel and I have an idea and I'm working and fleshing it out. And then I'll put it in and ask, ChatGPT, what do you think? And it'll
Mm.
say, first of all, they blow smoke up your up your
Yep.
ass and they flatter you and they're like, it's wonderful. I could, this, whatever. And then they give you like, I could tweak it and just, if you want it to sound more like this. And then I'm like, I'm curious. And so all of a sudden I get sucked into this. I've been getting sucked into this thing where I keep asking, like tweaking my thing and then putting it into ChatGPT. What do you think? And I don't even like what it answers half the time, but it's like I'm in this like constant and yesterday, I was having this conversation with my friend, and it dawned on me I spent so much time going back and forth, just tweaking,
Mm.
tweaking, 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 to the point where literally ChatGPT said, "This sounds very Virgoan. It's you might want to just. I think it's ready to
No.
go. You better stop before you tweak it to death." I'm not kidding. I had to laugh, but in that moment, as I was talking to my friend about this, I was thinking about Pisces and Virgo and my North Node in Virgo. I have Saturn there. And it's kind of like sometimes you hear the North Node referred to in a more traditional sense. Now, we practice a more modern astrology,
Mm.
but sometimes you hear of a place where it's insatiable. It's like this
Yeah.
hunger, this constant. And there's that part of me that kind of, especially in moments when I'm stressed or overwhelmed, it's like you can grip or grasp the
Yeah.
North Node. And so I'm like constantly tweaking. If I can just get it right, if I can just get it right. And I realized that this is just feeding. It's not actually the way I'm using it and working with it. It's not helping me. It's
Mm.
actually feeding this kind of neurosis in a
Yep.
way. It was this moment. I'm like, wow, this is actually changing like this could change one's brain, one's mind over time, this
Yeah.
interaction with this. Now, I'm not saying AI on the whole is terrible or awful, but it was
Mm.
a very personal realization that, oh my gosh, it's actually uh, in a way impeding my ability to trust myself. And that's
Yeah.
something with that Pisces, like letting go and trusting and letting it just be after a while. And because unlike my husband, that after the second or third time, it's like, I'm cut off. Like, that's done. You're on your own. You got to make this work.
Yeah.
AI is going to be there as long as you want it to be to keep going and going and going.
Mm.
And it was just one of those, I'm sorry, I just talked for like a long period of time, but it
Good.
it was just a moment where it was like, wow, I can't allow this. I have to let go. It was just it was very revelatory to me. And so I'm going to have to figure out a new way to engage with AI because I think completely dropping it isn't the answer. But it
Mhm.
was just so clear how the way I've been working with it has actually been hurting me and like making me more anxious, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know my opinions.
You're like,
But
oh yeah.
I'm like, it's all good. I'm just so glad. I'm not glad. I'm so glad you went through that. I'm
Of
I'm I'm glad that you came to that realization though, because that is, my concern and worry with it. And like when you have such a brilliant mind as yours, it's like it can,
Oh,
oh, don't you
let's
dare.
not get. Yeah.
Yes.
Are you chat GPTing me?
Hello, you are wonderful. Yes, I am. This whole time
Yes.
it hasn't been me.
I love
It's
you,
so
Kaia.
true. I love you. That's the thing. It's like and to have that like human interaction like with your husband, and you can trust him that he's telling you the truth. He's not bullshitting you. He's not going to let
Yeah.
if he was like, oh, this does not sound great, or hey, maybe would you mind like putting it here, like I'll run things by my mom and she'll like suggest. But to have that human stuff is so important.
Yes.
And yes, like, and that's how this is such a wonderful example too, because you're looking at your chart, you're looking at the transits, and you're like, oh, wait, like this is starting to do this. And the fact that it was kind of like, oh, I'm maybe not like trusting myself when you were just kind of looking to like maybe do some edits, but it kind of spiraled, and because I don't think you need it. Your words and verbiage are just so, they're real and they're genuine. And God, that's such a fascinating one. Wow.
It was
Dang.
crazy. And I'm curious, with Pluto being in
Oh
Aquarius, of
yeah.
course, that's a million different things, like a lot of different ways it's been affecting my Mercury.
Yeah.
But it's almost like the shadow side of technology. We think of Pluto in Aquarius, and
Oh yeah.
just one iteration, it's like here I am kind of in this spinning and getting kind of like, I mean, I'm like, I hope no one ever sees this feed because they'd be like, this person is insane. Like, how
Oh,
much time is spent in this, like going back and it's like feeding
right.
this. And it was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
it, I was able to pull back. And I think that's something with Mercury retrograde is like, while it's not objective in that kind of way of seeing that we're like, not like an objectivity here,
Yeah.
there's a clarity is not the right word, but it's
I know
like
what you mean though. Yeah.
it is. It's a different, it's a way of knowing, of feeling
Inner
like,
knowing.
oh, it
Yeah.
was, and I hadn't thought of it that way until I was in conversation with my friend. You
I
know,
mean,
it
God,
was
how
just
much
like,
more
it was
material.
all, it was so cool. It was so cool, and
Wow. The layers too within
yeah,
this example of how it's been Mercury retrograde's been chatting with you is wow. Like it's profound because it pulls in the transit, it pulls in it's everything. Well, thank you for sharing. I'm glad we again, I don't know if I'm glad. I'm just like, oh, we've like experienced it. So astrology is real whether or not you believe it.
there you go. Exactly. It's operating
End
anyways,
result.
right?
Yes. Dang. Oh my God. I was like, there's so much more we could go in there too. My mind, I'm talking about Mercury, right? Like it was like sparking. But I'm so glad you
Oh,
came to that realization because I think that's like with all it, like they always say Mercury retrograde, look at all the RE words, reflect, review, redo, blah, blah, blah. And realization. I'm like, yeah, I feel like that's a huge one because it's like
yes.
what I love about Mercury retrograde is that, first of all, it's not unusual. We have like three, right? Over a year, pretty much. It's scheduled. It's like the eclipses. There's scheduled programming. It's like scheduled interruptions and disruptions. So, in a way, are they disruptions? Well, yes,
Exactly.
but kind
Exactly.
of like, right? Because it's not here to hurt us. It's here to be like, hey, like with you, with me in different ways. We're like, oh, I thought it was this thing. Oh, it's something else entirely. And now I have information that I can work with. It's information and just in a different way. That's why I
Yeah.
love Mercury retrograde.
I do too. And I always, this is my thing that I always say now. I feel like it's a
Yeah.
collective quote unquote sleep cycle because it's a
Mhm.
built in time to go in and we get messages. They come in these like little moments of revelatory, or things come back into our awareness that we've sidelined, that we've kind of shelved or
Yeah.
overlooked details. They come back up in this period. And
Yeah.
it's like this kind of every 3 times a year. It's like and there's the shadow period before and after. So we spend
Yes.
quite a bit of time, like we do, sleeping, and we resist it. We fight it. And I think
We
of like
do.
a baby or a child not wanting to go to bed. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to. I want to stay up. And it's like, no, this is a period where the mishaps that are happening are trying to redirect us, divert us, and get our
Literally.
attention somewhere else, because we don't want to put our attention on those things that maybe we've been putting off, or we're going, 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 going. We're in yang
Yeah.
mode. We're all the
Yeah.
time. So okay, now
Yeah.
I'm going on a soapbox.
Collective sleep. I love the collective sleep cycle. Well, that's a tongue twister, but I like it.
Tongue twister. Yeah.
You know what I think we're gonna have to do is do an episode on Mercury retrograde.
A
Is what
whole
I'm realizing.
Because it is so deep. And I
Love
think,
it.
I mean, it's fun that it's out there. And like part
Yeah.
of the whole purpose of this podcast, part of it is really to bridge that pop astrology and,
Mhm.
all the highly academic, and make it all
Yeah.
accessible. And so I love that it's out there in people's language, and that
Yeah.
everybody kind of has, but then it can fall flat, right? It can be just
Yeah.
about, oh no, everything's going awry. And there's
Yeah.
just such a beauty to the cyclical nature, just like the moon cycles, but the moon has a whole
Totally.
different connotation, right? In out there. So, okay.
Oh,
Well,
I love it. Okay. I know. I'm like, God, don't get us talking about Mercury retrograde. We'll get
yeah,
swept away.
right.
Yeah. Should we move on to the topic?
Why not? And it kind of actually does go in a
It
sense
does.
with this. Kaia and I were talking, and we thought
Mm.
we might be interesting to have a conversation about social media, and also, because we're building our practice right now. We've been sharing that we graduated, and we've been working on building our practice, and there's a lot of tools out there to do so, to put us out there more,
Yeah.
to help us do that. But where there's that line between it's a gift and a curse, kind of like here I was talking about AI, and how can we stay authentic to our voice as astrologers and use these tools. And I think this is a conversation I really personally feel very much, it's like on my mind right now, because I'm trying to put myself out there and do these reels. I'm
Yeah.
not the short form type of person. I'm someone that likes to maybe go on too long, so it's good to have limits. But I feel like something like astrology, sometimes it's far more complex, right? And so we
Mm.
want to be able to be accessible, but to explain something with the layers, you can't do it in a sound bite. So how do you work with that? And there's so many ways, and people have so much advice, but it's constantly changing, and the algorithm is constantly changing. And so for me, I can get very overwhelmed. I'm sure everybody has a different thresholds.
Mm.
So it's like, how do we, again, keep our authenticity and work with these tools without getting burnt out and becoming something like getting our focus in the wrong place?
Yeah. I know, and especially being a post grad, and trying to maintain this like new build. See, I'm like, oh wow, I'm like, ooh, I can feel the like hesitancy in my body there a little bit because it's
Yeah.
so exciting and it's also fucking terrifying because okay, the good is that there's been such a saturation of astrology, of the tarot, like witchcraft, like it's all like, they have their waves and they've really come into the collective. And with that, there's so much. There's so much. There's so many people. It's also oversaturated with information. Yeah, because it's like, how do I stay authentic? But how might I stand out? But I don't want to just stand out just to like get people because I want to be genuine, but I also need to get clients, and I also don't want to, it's like this whole kind of crisscross.
Yes. Oh, totally. And it's interesting because, I love the idea of something building organically. And when I was a
Mm.
travel consultant, I started as an employee, and over time I became an independent travel agent, and like I built a business, and it all was like repeat and referral, and that feels very comfortable to me. But
Mm.
now we're in a time where it's almost like if you don't, like, I believe that there's still an avenue for that. I think that there's something
Yeah,
energetically you can still, I don't think you have to completely go that route, but things are moving in that route. And I think people almost look at you funny if you didn't
yeah,
have a social media page or
Oh yeah.
something. That's really difficult for me. At the same time, I've
Yeah.
been having fun and I'm learning a lot in the process.
Oh,
I'm getting all these new tools. I have to learn how to edit things and you
you
have
are
to
so
use
good at the editing. That's so
I'm
interesting.
not,
That's coming up.
but I'm learning. And so there's a gift, but I also
Yeah.
feel like this resistance, it's very
Mm,
overwhelming. And people have so much advice. And to your point, I
I
don't want to
know.
do this just to get followers. Like
I know.
my friend again, who's very well versed in these things, he's like, well, if you did this and then you did this and then you do this, you could have like 1 million followers. I'm like, well, that's not
Yeah.
my intention. And he's like, well, don't you want to reach a lot of people? And I'm like, well, yes, actually, I do. I do want to reach people, and I shouldn't put it down like that's a bad thing, but it's
Yeah.
not, you know what I'm trying to say? It's
I
like that is not
know.
my purpose, you know.
No, 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 no. Yes. God, yeah. Like I agree. I think having what's interesting, and we found this like I think it was year four when there was a class about like building your, a professional like astrological wow, astrological toolkit.
Yes.
And we're all like, damn it, because like all the like famous, profound astrologers right now, like some of them don't have social media or the websites are like, and it's like, but it
Yes.
doesn't matter. But
I
now,
know.
like, our generation kind of has to have that
Yes.
stuff. But it's interesting because, like, there's part of me that's like, I don't need to have like the craziest, fanciest website. Like our, Tony's always like, just,
Right.
keep it simple, like keep it concise, say what you want to say. And I think it's helpful having an Instagram because as you said, the tools and the resources, like as you know, I like doing the stories. I like that I can like do a video and I have all these ideas and brainstorms about what I do want to do with Instagram, but what I'm still battling is kind of like I want to stay authentic. Yes, and usually it seems like it could be well received, but I don't know about you, but sometimes I experience just like this embarrassment.
Oh my God. Don't even when especially if like it doesn't get a lot of views or something like
Yeah.
that because you
Yeah.
put like these it's funny. It's like I have a harder time for things to be shorter than longer, right?
Yep.
But I still put all this and then I'm spend more time trying to edit things down and they're still not even that short. But anyways, you put all of this into it. And a lot of times it's a matter of when it's posted and there's so many
Yeah.
things that go into it, but it does kind of, you just, I constantly am like, okay, remember why you're doing this. For me, it's like, it's
Yeah.
also a practice. It's a practice speaking the
Practice.
language. It's a practice. But when it
Mm.
doesn't, like put something out and then someone else puts something out, it gets like
Yeah.
5 times. It's so difficult not to compare, not to get sucked into how many people
Yeah.
liked it or viewed it or whatnot. It is so,
It
and
is.
the embarrassment, like thing is real. There are moments where it's like, oof, or
Mhm.
completely. And I'm sitting here going, you sometimes have those moments you're like, why am I even doing all of this? And then you're
Yeah.
like, no, stop,
Yeah.
regroup. And so, of course, and I think a lot of people then, I think that's why it's so easy to become consumed by, well, if I do all of these things that everybody says, well, you could improve this if you did A, B, or
Hmm.
C, and you can get so focused on trying to beat the algorithm that by the end you've lost sight of like even
Yeah.
why you're doing this or
Oh
almost like
yeah.
so of course I completely relate. And I think also your Libra rising, my Libra
Hmm.
sun, that comparison
Hmm.
game is strong. And then our Jupiter and Leo, I think just having any
Yeah.
placement in Leo,
Well,
there's a desire to,
yeah.
it's a
There
reciprocity
is.
thing. And if you're outputting and it's like, is any it can
There is.
be
I also got the moon there, so I'm like, ah,
humbling, can be very humbling.
it's very
And
humbling. I'm like, thank you. I have so many Virgo moons in my life recently, and I feel like they're
same.
trying to humble me.
Yeah.
Like, wait, I don't know if that's what I need to work on right now.
Like, I don't
Um,
know how much humbling can I take?
I know, I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, like part of me is like, whatever the stubbornness, oh, no, the Taurus, but I'm like, can I lean into some like, what I would love is to truly kind of not give a fuck about if people liked it or not. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking that, but then it doesn't always stay constant,
100.
you
Yes.
know, because everyone's opinions and advice, blah, 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 it gets overwhelming. especially like there's a lot of shoulds or do this or like what I've gotten a lot is people like, you should do TikTok, you should do TikTok, you should do TikTok, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's not really what I am looking for.
Same,
I
same.
like, I like Instagram for, I think it's fun to work with, again, the stories to post, blah, 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 but that's pretty much as far as I'd want to go. And but see, here's the thing. Like you used to be able to do lives, but now you have to have a certain amount of followers. And we found this, and that was I was like, ouch, a little bit of a gut punch, and also realizing, oh, I do need to work on my Instagram page more because we were able to like take turns hosting, and I always liked starting the hosting. That feels fun for me, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so then we had to switch. I'm like, Simona, you're gonna have to like start it because I literally can't start the
Which I hate
live.
doing because I'm not great with starting, but I'm like, Kaia, can you start it off?
And
It's
I'm like,
like,
that is damn it. And it was like, you shut up and you get to now do it. I'm like, no, I know, but it was so that was frustrating, and I was like, okay, so that's a hurdle. And then I kind of let myself take that as like, well, and I haven't put the effort and action into it, if I'm being quite honest. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I'm seeing what I do want to do because I try to make sure I'm following people on social media that I actually feel uplifted by. And I feel like that's so important. And it actually started, I think, during the pandemic, honestly. And it wasn't even, there was astrology, but more I was trying to follow like art, like artists I liked. Because I liked my feed just to be filled with like positive messaging or art, body positivity, body acceptance. That's really big for me. So I also wanted that in my stuff too. And honestly, I feel like I've done a good job of catering who I'm following. And I feel I'm influenced, right? But I'm like, okay, what I'm seeing is, yeah, this person is really, it's really, they are just like them. And that's why I like them. I'm not trying to copy them, but I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. So if they can, and it's that whole like kind of Leo thing, right? Like if you're staying true to yourself and doing it however you want to do it, that actually helps other people who are seeing it. And so you know, then the positive part of me, the more Jupiter part of me is like, okay, I'm just gonna fucking do what I want to do. Like there are things I want to do with like cardboard. Maybe we'll see. And like I have this vision in my head, and it's kind of hard to like execute it. It's still kind of foggy, but I see the vision. Or like as you know, I do like some like artwork, and I'm not like well, I think a lot of people are artists. I don't like being like, I'm not an artist because I think everyone is blah blah blah. But like it's not technique and skill. They're not in detail. They're not exactly my fortes. But I like what I draw, and I
you're creative. You're
thank
so
you.
creative. Yeah.
Well, and I want to do things with that. And the first risk, you know what I was just about to do? I was just about to apologize for talking too much. Oh no, my therapist would be mad.
I did that earlier.
Oh no.
Something.
Yeah, I think we've already done it. Fuck. Okay, we need to like
Hey, we're being
put money.
vulnerable. Hey, hey,
We're
it's
being
cool.
vulnerable, but
Part of our
maybe we
part of
should
our
put money into a bank account, Simona, every time we say sorry to see how much.
have a little coin jar. We'll have like a little coin jar on this podcast every time we apologize. We'll put it
Oh my,
because that's the work.
oh
I'm actively
no.
working on it.
Damn it, it's so hard, right? Oh, another topic.
Yeah, another topic. Yeah.
Another topic. But one risk I took in this whole topic we're talking about trying to be like genuine and authentic and real, blah blah. Um, I was kindly asked by a lovely friend of mine. They were doing this. I'm in Portland, Surrealist Cabaret, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to do the Astro Dice, which is something Simona and I have used, Astro Dice, and it's really fun and kind of instead of tarot readings, using them in an Astro Dice way." And I was like, yes. And thank God I said yes. And then she was like, you can, and I was like, she's like, if you want to do anything else with it, she's like, pretty much it's up to you, however you want to do it. So I did it. And, my besties, Lana and Jaquel, shout outs again, a lot of shout outs today. They were there. And I was excited. It was a little scary because like I made some money, that was nice. And I also like brought some of my cardboard art. I didn't sell a piece, but and there was a little embarrassment, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, oh, but now I did it, and I'd like to do it again. And from that, I've even created like an event bucket because I would like to do like little astro like like do that like at parties or events, you know? And so
Yes.
it felt good to me. It also felt a little being vulnerable, and I felt a little sad and embarrassed, like a little post-show blues, you know, after the event, because I was like, well, you know, I was hoping to be really uplifted by it, but I'm also glad I did it at the same time. So,
Yes.
yeah, I guess, yeah, that's
No, that's
that
a
was the part.
beautiful. I love that you shared that, Kaya,
Yeah,
because I just the act of doing that and having the
yeah,
courage to put it, and it is so, I have had many moments like that where you finally
yeah,
go, okay, I'm going to do this thing. And you
mm,
feel good that you took that risk. And but
yeah,
when it sometimes takes time for things to get going, or for people to like, they'll appreciate or see, and when they like actually stop and see, they can see it, right? But like,
yeah,
it takes sometimes time for people to do that, and it can be very like, I've had so many cringe moments, so
yeah,
many cringe moments, so I and it can really stop the process.
yeah,
And I think I love what you shared, and I can relate to that so much.
mm,
Um, and I think then the question becomes,
mm,
like, how do we keep taking those little steps and not
yeah,
shut ourselves down and stay? I love that you said at a certain point, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. And I think
yeah,
that that is really important when working with these tools, is just always remembering what that is. Like, I think having those check-ins, like
yeah,
Mercury retrograde times are good for those check-ins. I think just always remembering, what is my original intention to work with this thing? Why am I, or
yeah,
whatever it is that we're doing, because you can get all like tied up in a knot and forget what, and lose that. So I'm glad that you're doing these other things, that we don't have to only use social media.
no,
It's like,
yeah,
it's something that we're kind of told that is a must,
yeah,
but there's so many other avenues. And in fact, when Isabella
oh,
Cianciolo, who was
shout out,
maybe to make this pod and join us, but she's going to join us next time.
yeah,
She was here in LA and visiting with me, and we were having a conversation. And she's like, it almost like, I wonder if it makes sense to first start locally, like one on one, and then bridge out to social media,
mm,
which that is much more natural and organic in my style. And I remember
yeah,
feeling like part of me was like 100%, part of me was like, but wait, I need to put my, there was this, I see this kind of split within myself, that I'm still trying to find what the right way is. And I don't know if there's the right way, but what is a way
right
that's
for you,
sustainable? Because I think at the end of the day, the key is what's sustainable for you, what is giving you that sense of like, I'm moving and making steps,
mm,
but it's not to the point where you're, I don't even want to say selling out, but
yeah,
you can completely just lose sight. I keep using that word, but lose sight of
yeah,
what
because
you're
it's so
doing.
easy to.
Yeah.
And for you, because I think maybe we're similar there, like I think the social media, yes, and that's a tool and a resource that I like. It sounds like it's helped you push you, and you're like, okay, I'm working with this, and it's showing me some realizations. Sorry guys, some little coffee today. um and then also, like with that, you know, you and I have talked about doing workshops or webinars or panel discussions. Like, do you feel for you, like in LA, like how do you kind of see in your like wildest dreams vision you staying
Yes.
authentic to your practice? Like, what would a day in the life kind of look like of
I would,
Simona's practice?
yes, I just cut off your question. Sorry.
No. Hey, we're fire moons.
Sorry, in the coin jar, in the
All
coin
right.
jar.
Oh shit. Sorry. Damn it.
But I mean, I feel like a sorry when you interrupt someone is, appropriate. So
Here we go. So we'll take that back. We're allowing that.
taking the coin back. Okay. I think a day in the life, I would love to not be on Zoom for my consultation. So it would be
Oh,
great to have a setup here where I am, where I can actually have people come. I love one-on-one. But in any case, this
yep.
is an ideal setup. Right now, things are on Zoom.
Yeah.
Even when it's here in LA, people are in LA, it's still oftentimes on Zoom. But
Mm,
nonetheless, I would love to have that. And then ideally, group work. I mean, I would
yeah.
love to do group work. And, we've done some of that.
Mhm.
I'd like to do more of that in workshops. And I would love to also give presentations. I don't know why I
Oh,
found I like to
nice.
do that, but I love doing the research.
You
This is
do.
also part of it. There's so many things that I love about
Yeah.
astrology, not even just the counseling part,
Yeah.
but I really love going down and doing the deep dive and then sharing that information. And I would love to, it's funny that we're talking about social media here. Here we are doing a podcast, which is social media.
It
So,
is.
it's funny. It's like there are these amazing tools, like how often, years and years ago, there wouldn't have been this opportunity to be able
Mhm.
to just like talk to you and have these conversations like this and then share them with people. So, something like this where you can have more space to
Yeah.
breathe. I love that. So I'm actually okay with a tool like this
Me too.
that
Yeah.
allows us to kind of sink into a topic.
Mhm.
Everyone talks about like the astrology podcast being very long. I am so
I
grateful
love it.
to Chris Brennan for making long podcasts cool, at least
Yes.
cool for the astrology peeps. I think it's great. I think that kind of style works, but we're also in a time where everyone's like shorter, faster, quicker. And
I
I say,
know.
wait a minute. Maybe to your point, the more we can kind of stay true to who we are, Chris
Mm.
Brennan stayed true to who he is. And it's, as far as I know, the number one astrology podcast or
Mhm.
among, I'm pretty sure it's the number one, but Astrology Hub is up there. But
Yeah.
the point is that he stayed very true to who he is, and
Yeah.
people gravitate towards that. So I think
Literally.
what you were talking about, I think is very key. And I
Mhm.
think that even though it can be hard to do that and everyone's going to give you advice on how to do things, I think that is really essential to find a way
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah. I see. And yeah, an example of like literally that was one of our inspirations because you and I were both very aligned with, oh, I don't actually want a time limit. And it was interesting to see that we were both like, no, like that for some reason there's something in us, and I'm so glad we stay true to that because, and I hope our listeners, whoever's going to be here is meant to be here, it'll vibe or it won't. That's cool. But like I love personally, because I remember telling you this, like I'm a big pod listener, and I love driving, or I'm so fortunate and grateful to be like an hour and a half away from the ocean here in Oregon, like maybe taking a day trip when I've just had a life is woof, and like absorbing. That's the first time I absorbed like some of the first episodes, like wow, a millennial, of the astrology podcast, and it just, I loved that. And I was like, oh, more of this. Like I always get kind of sad when there's like a cutoff or episodes are shorter. So excuse me. I'm just so glad that somehow there's something in us that's like, no, we're staying true to this. So like that is one thing that we are doing in this podcast. And it's a great practice for you and I to be like, this is what we want to do. And of course we could go down the rabbit hole of, well, do people want this? Do people, do you think people, whatever. We can't control that. Like we can't control what people are going to be interested in. We can maybe see, and if people, we can be in conversation with people, like, oh,
Right.
like, and I don't think this is like spilling the news, but like there's a topic called lunar faces that you and I were going to go into with two of our dear friends, Rachel and
Hi,
Isabella.
Pam.
Hey,
Yeah.
and I can't wait for that, but it's also like when I see all the stuff that I'm listening to, I'm attracted to, it's because they've chosen that. And I'm realizing like one of my favorite witches that I follow, the Witch of Southern Lights, shout out. Like again, I was so inspired because he's like published these books about witchcraft and folkloric traditional witchcraft, and he infused his own artwork into it. And
Love
that
that.
was honestly like that inspired me to just like, because I like these silly little drawings I make with like Sharpies and cardboard, whatever. And again, it'll find the people it's meant to find. It's so much easier saying that. But I also, it is interesting, like at work, I get lit up a lot when people talk to me about astrology and the charts. And like, I had a great moment on that crazy Wednesday, this Mercury retrograde time, right? On the day we had to move all the boxes of paper.
Ugh.
A little traumatized. Um, but I had my laptop open because I was going to be doing an interview because I get to do the hiring. Um, and it was so lovely. Like all these ladies were on their break, and they had asked me I'm putting people's charts into the system, and it was just so cool. I felt so lit up just like talking about the chart, and it was just like a group of us, and people seemed genuinely like just curious. They were open, and it gave me the little, oh right, as you just to echo your point of like coming back to why is this important, like what is the meaning, what is the reason here. And it wasn't, and I'm glad it wasn't like, now I've gotten these followers, or now, it could have been that, but honestly my heart felt like it was gonna like burst like out of joy, because
Yes.
I felt seen. I was feeling like they perhaps felt seen or heard, about certain things. And like, I know some of my friends would be like, you need to be charging for that. I'm like, I know, and I will, and I will. And I have consultations. I have prices, but if organically something comes up about someone's chart and I take a little look into it and we're talking about an aspect or something and it makes them feel seen and heard or whatever, that is like honestly that brings me like so much joy. Like it made me like want to cry because
I'm
I
going to
like
start to.
Terry, now I'm gonna start to because you've been there. You know that feeling,
Yes.
right? And like you
Yes.
can't, it's like I get, yeah, it's just like the, oh god damn
You're
it.
getting me going. I think this Mercury in Pisces. This is
I know,
Pisces
right?
energy.
Could we more? I know, it
Mm.
was just like the passion and the love, and I was like, and this is why. This is why, you know. Oh
I couldn't agree
yeah,
with you more. And that thing about, people are trying to help and they'll say,
yeah, of
you should charge for this. Yes, we
course.
understand it. I value my work. I
Yes.
have my website up. I've got my prices. I charge. But if something comes up organically that's actually fueling me, why am
Yeah.
I going to shut that down? Is
Why?
how I take it. It's an organic moment that you get fueled, you feel alive, you feel in a
Yeah.
moment of chaos, this like light around it. It's like there's this
Yeah.
connection, a real, I mean, this is why we're doing astrology. We love it. We love the connection. It's genuine. So,
Yeah.
of course, we want to do it all the time. We want to be able to make a living doing it all the time.
Hmm.
Yes, I understand that, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to shut that down
No.
because I'm having a real moment with someone. And
Mm-mm.
it's the most beautiful thing. And so,
Mm-mm.
I mean, it's like like as you were saying that, I was thinking, at my part-time job and how I've been really beyond pleasantly surprised. I feel like it's been a gift to the people that I've been working with, even though the job itself is, just until I can
Yeah.
fully embrace my practice.
Yeah.
It's I've met these really cool people, and a lot of them are into astrology. And so those these little
Yes.
moments in the office where we have these
Oh,
conversations, I'm just like, it's life-giving. So
yes. I know. And I think what I'm seeing in both of us too is just like really trying to pay it forward, you know?
yes.
And like within that, like maintaining like accessibility too is huge. Like I don't want to be an astrologer who is, while respecting my own value and worth financially, of course, because that's huge. I've also thought about like I said this once to this man, and he was like, "Oh, blah," just some response. I was like, "Oh, I would like to offer like payment plans or options, like just in case, because, I can't. I know myself, I can't afford so many things too, and like making that possible for people. Like I actually did that once with a friend, and they were like, "Hey, I can't afford this full out," and I'm like, "All good. Let's do this. Let's work. Let's work with one another." And
Yeah.
yes, I know I'm just not a business oriented person. I don't like, and like there's part of me that's kind of like that's okay because I'm trying to stay true to what I believe. And as you said, it is very much building organically. And when we've gone in those like directions, I really do see it. Like things just like connections start blossoming, and I'm like, oh wait, and none of so far not through, it's not been social media led, it has. And I'm so glad because a lot of our teachers were like, do the social media, do the website, yes, because it's just good to have those logistics down, blah blah.
Right.
And also you guys are going to see word of mouth, like it really is insane how true that is. And it's not just like us, because my mom is a therapist, and she is also very kind therapist, meaning that she offers a very generous sliding scale, and for the work that she's doing it could probably be much more, right?
Right.
And so there are quite a few clients who the money, most people will be like, what the fuck, like why are you doing that? But she's like, well, at the end of the day, like this is what I believe, and like this follows my values, my moral compass. Maybe I'm not like gonna be bursting at the seams with money, but as we've seen, maybe that's okay. Like I'd rather stay tuned to my ethics and moral compass and values, and like it's so huge, especially I think in the esoteric practices with something like astrology, because one thing under this topic that I never want to be, and I think I get scared about this, which is why I hold back. um I call it the guru syndrome. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It can take
yeah.
hold.
It can take hold. And I think we had even chat about that in classes. Like you have to be very mindful. Like even I think it was Mark Jones too is and maybe Tony too, like we're not like, hello, like I am the one who's gonna tell you everything. Like it what an abuse of power, to assume you know everything about your client, or like and so I just always really want to be mindful of that. I sometimes go over the board, but that's okay. I'll figure it out. But that's one of my fears is that syndrome.
Oh, I mean, I have the same thing even, and part of it is like when you're putting stuff out there in like quick
Yeah.
clips and whatever, you can sound more like
Yes.
I'm saying this, and because you don't have it in what you said, that's part of my frustration is that you only have, okay, it's better just do a minute clip and then they can listen to the rest later or whatever. But people
Yeah.
might just listen, not ever go to that rest of it. And if you can't flesh out, you're only showing this much and it can sound a little like descriptive without any like, what are you describing? Like, what are the layers? You can't get into those nuances and it can kind of like, you're just making these like quick claims and almost. I
Yeah.
know there's an elegant way to do it. I'm not saying there
Mhm.
isn't, but that's part of it adds to keeping things kind of like, I got this to tell you, and I
Yes.
know this thing versus like,
Yes.
if you have time, you can like, well, in this situation, it's not quite this. You can kind of flesh it out and add the nuance. There's no ability to do that in certain kind of,
Yeah.
you know, you can't really do that effectively when you
Hmm.
have these short, quick sound bites, right? So it's like, in any case, now I'm going off into this
Right.
other, but
I
what you were
know.
saying made me think of that. It's like, it's so important to not put that guru thing when you're just on social media and
Yeah.
saying all this stuff can take hold very quickly and people see
Yeah.
you in that light. These big
Yeah.
influencers, they hold a lot of power.
A
And
lot.
ideally, that doesn't mean that some people do well with a lot
Yeah.
of power and a lot of influence and do really wonderful things, but you
Hmm.
constantly have to keep that in check because even the best of
Yeah.
us, when you start to grow, things start to get distorted, things can start to get skewed. So it's like really important to
Yeah.
keep checking back in with, why am I doing this? What is happening here? All this.
Yeah, am I being integral? Like, am I maintaining integrity? Am I being responsible? You know,
Yes.
and also with that, making sure we keep learning and educating and not just stopping because you've graduated, like because it's on an accredited system. Astrology, like that's very easy to maybe stop. Whereas therapists they have to have a certain amount of hours of continuing CEUs every year, and some amongst other practices. But astrology, not necessarily. So it's kind of on us to do that, and luckily like you and I are teaching assistants, TAs with AU, so that helps keep the brain active in the pod. But like I need to make sure that I'm attending other workshops, getting other perspectives, looking at other house systems, looking at other astrologers, and not just assuming I know it all or I've ended there or I didn't really like that technique so I'm never going to look at it again.
Yeah,
Like
all these things. Yeah.
flexibility, curiosity. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we only have so much energy to
Yeah.
give in the day. So I think the question then becomes, how are we not only just like how can we be authentic, but then how do we use our energy to support that?
Hmm.
And if we're so focused on, oh, I got to do all these things, then we don't have the energy or the time to
Yeah.
put into continuing our learning as much as we would. And that's more than just listening to other people's podcasts. That's like actually
Mhm.
like, I mean, that's part of it. That's learning.
Oh yeah.
But like attending workshop, all that stuff, it's
Yeah.
time. You only have so much. That's part of the dilemma here. You only have so much time.
Yeah.
How do we want to use that energy to sustain this, to get ourselves going and get things moving, but also not get completely untethered? Yeah, all those
Yeah.
things are important.
Yeah. And something you were saying that I wanted to speak to when you were like all these things that can be done with astrology. I think that's also lovely to see it's not just one avenue, you know, but that it's so multifaceted, So like
Yes.
especially and you've brought up teaching and now the research too. And that's like a huge realm of astro that you can always be working with and like that can offer service and be helpful to other people too. So it's just kind of cool to see the different ways in which we can, and that's where I think the Jupiter comes in. The Jupiter's like, what are all the potentials? What are the opportunities here? What are my visions? Dream fucking big, of course. And then the Saturn is where we can, like, as you said, okay, how do I literally manifest that, because that's Earth
Yes.
manifesting Saturn. And then yeah, for me it's the consistency, sustainability, the follow through with the
Yes.
dreams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And
Yeah.
maybe even setting some boundaries within like how we have all the, I guess that kind of goes with the Saturn part. It's like
Mm.
also we have this big vision. Now how do we, with all of these things that we can get overwhelmed, there's all like we're going back to like this everything, we're so connected, there's so much information, so how do we kind of protect ourselves and our and that vision
Yeah.
within that, and set ourselves up so that we can kind of operate in this new normal that we're now in.
Yeah,
Like this is like, and this is just, it's going to accelerate even more.
it is.
That's part of
It
why I
is.
wanted to bring, I thought could make for an interesting discussion, because yes, we've
So
been talking
glad.
about social media for many years, but everything's accelerating now. Like
It
we're in a moment
is.
with all these, in 2026, I mean, astrologers, we've all been talking about it ad nauseum of
Mm.
all these big outer planet
Yeah.
transits, but it's almost like you can't talk about it enough. We're at a point where things are
No.
just, the boundaries are dissipating in a way, and everything's
Hmm.
connected, and it's just speeding up, and it's so we're going to have to really protect ourselves within that and find a way
Mm.
to coexist with this, because you can't just also just completely disappear and go under, like,
That's true.
so in
Yeah.
any case,
No,
I've
that's a great
said a
point.
lot on the same thing, but it's just
No,
my mind.
I love your mind. And but I mean it's great. I do. A protection, honestly, while also not being completely closed off. I'm quite stubborn about some of these things, and I know that,
No,
and so
you know yourself too. You have to know yourself enough to know what
yeah.
is like what your boundary is,
Yeah,
you know?
what are your limits, your boundaries? And it's also interesting seeing people kind of, while this is all accelerating, also really needing and wanting and craving, like the human touch again, or things more
Yes.
simplified. Like the fact, it's just kind of cool. And I know that happens, right, over like eras and collectives and whatnot, like that we go back to things. But it is interesting, like records are so popular again, or tape cassettes, or like CDs, like DVD play, like all these things are also kind of coming back. Like I repurchased, whatever.
Perfect.
Yeah, a DVD player for myself because I was like, oh, I kind of miss. Well, because
Yeah.
one of my favorite TV shows, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, was booted off of Netflix. Nowhere, I can't find it on any other streaming platforms because now there's so many. So I was like, oh wait, I I can do the TV. Like I can go a little bit back to basics.
I
So
love it.
I don't know, like with all the social media and stuff, like, some people are like, I don't know if I want to like go around and like put like postcards or like business cards, but I think like I'm still gonna do that stuff because
I got
I
it.
don't
I made
know.
some business cards. It's
Really?
fun.
Yes, they're good to have. Like I think it's, yeah, it's like mixing the tangible, like quote unquote old school, but not even like, because people, I do look at like boards and shops or coffee shops. People have their posters or business cards. I think there's still something to that, while also working with the social media. It's like, okay, there is a way for them to work together within your ethical compass too. Oh.
No, you brought up a point that's funny. That's exactly another part of my conversation with my friend last night, was
Mm,
also that in all of this, people are likely going to and are craving. I think this is why astrology is going to be even more important. We're
yeah,
in it right now, is that because people will crave that touch, that
yeah,
human touch, that connection, that those
yeah,
tangible things. And I think one of the reasons astrology has survived as long as it has is because cultures have gone through periods where, I mean, obviously it wasn't like AI, but it was like
mhm,
other things where
yeah,
there was disconnect. There was a sense
yes,
of disconnect, or a whatever was going on in society. It's like people felt cut off, and then they turned
mhm,
to astrologers because there's
mhm,
that real connection, and there's some kind of coming back into these rhythms, and having, like you said, I love that you got a DVD player. That's
yeah,
great. So there
yeah,
is that side by side, those things happening. And I think going, figuring out where we fit into that and holding true to that, we will be able to progress as need be.
Okay, so I think it'd be kind of cool to wrap up with rolling the dice. We have our beautiful Astro dice that we rolled in the first episode, and we were kind of thinking maybe we could roll some right now. So, what's a question
I
that's
think
coming to mind? Oh,
I
sorry.
love that. No, I think that's a great idea. Let's use the Astro Dice. Maybe
Okay.
since we've been having this conversation about how do we stay authentic to social
Yeah.
media, maybe we can be like, okay, which archetype wants to speak to us
Hmm.
now? Which archetype could help
Beautiful.
guide us?
Okay.
We can maybe roll the planet and a sign, and
Okay.
yeah, like what could be a guiding principle here to help us work with these new energies, with kind of all that we've been talking about.
Okay. What are the archetypal guiding principles that are going to help us stay genuine and authentic to our practice?
Beautiful. I love how you said that. That's perfect. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
The suspense.
Moon and Libra.
Moon.
Damn
Wow.
it.
Okay. Okay, more
Hilarious.
Libra.
Okay.
All
So I
right.
guess we have to
So
keep like working together or whatever. I don't
just that,
know.
it's something I'm feeling like the moon, like how can we find our sense of security in,
Yes.
I mean, it's so literal thinking, oh, the balance, but there really is about continuing to find that balance
Yep.
between staying true, but also working with what's out there. And, what other kind of things are coming to mind? Let me sit with this for a
Oh,
second.
well, I mean, literally, it's like when I think of the moon and Libra, like really, like being in partnership is huge collaboration, but it also does bring the polarity of Aries into it. So the balance of maintaining the self and the partnership, and I mean, I think Libra is like, God, this is a perfect like sign for this role. And the moon, it feels like honestly this is so like emotionally fueled. I think a passion is, and so remembering like you've said it quite a few times, then I was echoing it, like coming back to it. So kind of maybe moon coming back home to the, I know moon is not necessarily meaning, but whatever, like coming back home to this meaning of astrology, because it brings like a sense of emotional, I don't know, well-being, security, safety. Yeah.
Yes. And us, I feel like, this podcast and there's something about working with you, Kaya, that has helped
Yeah.
me, like it kind of fueled my own practice. So there's something about
Same.
staying and continuing this partnership. It is a beautiful
Literally
guiding principle, the Libran energy
it
to,
is. Oh my God. Like, I woke up feeling a little, but like as soon as we started chatting, as soon as I like saw you, I was like awake and already like I feel uplifted. Like every time we talk, every time we do the pod, I feel very proud. And I'm like, and this is like a maintaining like anchor, like this is a very Libran anchor for us to stay connected whilst also helping ourselves and other people too, hopefully.
yes, and remembering
Yeah.
that this is for, staying anchored in ourselves, but it is a service to others and,
Yeah.
all of that. So thank you, Dice.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you
Dice.
guys. They're always there for us.
Fun to use them for sure. But
Yeah.
wow, we went a lot of places here, Kai. This
We
was
went a lot of
really
places.
interesting. I'm so happy that we
This is
had this
awesome.
conversation. I feel like it was a really, I don't know, I it sparked a lot of thoughts now that I'm going to kind of sit with
Yeah.
and think about as
Yeah.
we continue down Mercury retrograde land.
Great.
I'll
I know,
continue
right?
to think about, reevaluate, reassess all the
All of the
re's,
re's.
all the re's.
I know thank you for this discussion. It's actually literally helped me anchor myself. I'm like, okay. I'm feeling some more motivation and energy again to just get the stuff going in my astrological life that I want to get going. So thank you. And should we give our handles? I'm pulling up my phone so I make sure that I'm saying my right handle because I'm always scared I'm saying the wrong one.
Perfect. Yes, let's give our handles. That sounds great.
Okay. So first you want to follow us, which is going to be at the Astro Lounge podcast. And then you can follow me, Haya, HIYA underscore Kaya, KAIA underscore astrology. Follow me. How about you?
Lovely. Yes, follow Kaya. And then my Instagram is the dot Cosmic Wanderer, WONDERER. And then my website is The Cosmic Wanderer without the dot. So, yes. Yay. And thank you everyone who listened. And we'd love to hear, if any of you, whatever industry you happen to be in, if you've run into some issues yourself with trying to engage with social media or anything you want to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. Absolutely. But for now, to the next time.
Yeah, we'll see you later in the Astro Lounge. Oh, yes.
Cheers.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye. Bye for now.